Hello everybody, and welcome to the new UK radio show. My name is Kevin Smith, and I have all sorts of things to share with you today. So let us begin. I was just rereading New Book 1 by Dwayne, the great writer. The part where he, as a young boy, was about to be attacked by a pack of wolves. But help was at hand, coming in the form of giant eagles, and his safety was assured. The giant eagles came to Dwayne's aid, as he and all those who make the connection to the real universes will have the protection of the real universal guides. And it transpired one of the giant eagles turned out, in fact, to be Rebazar Tars, utilizing the ability to transform into whatever he chooses as situations demand and circumstances dictate. Naturally, the guides do not use such talents and abilities frivolously or recklessly. They always operate from a place of purity and beingness, and all their actions will make sense with the whole of life and the benefit of all. And protection of the new students would fall under this category. And should the guides tog up a little cause and effect in creation, as they manipulate it for the purposes of support, protection, and sharings, they know how to deal with it and work it off. They are uncontainable, unrestrained, and free beings of pure light, and nothing can restrict them. I had a dream very recently where I was attacked too on the real side. My attackers would be in the form of bugs, insects, and creepy crawly things. They were relentless, and seemed I was unable to fend them off myself. It seems the guides will give new students space to extricate themselves from their own predicaments, and those that others impose adversely upon them. For the dark forces and much of creation detests all those who would want to escape the clutches of it. The Callum god will periodically send his minions and lackeys to assault the individuals daring to defy his authority. In a way, this can be construed as a positive thing, as we better learn how to handle ourselves in any situation and bring forth abilities and defense mechanisms we never knew we possessed. But always the guides are near, and will step in if we are overwhelmed. And the instigators of the attacks on new students especially face extreme karma. In my bug dream, suddenly a large rat entered the scene, and all the critters retreated, and it guarded me while I remained there. Initially, I assumed it was maybe an individual that was perhaps a friend of mine, maybe from another life, and saw an opportunity to assist. But now, after reacquainting myself with Dwayne's plight in New Book 1, and reminding me then that one of the saving eagles was a guide, it suggests a similar possibility, that of the rat being a guide too, assuming the form of a rodent and protecting me. After all, this rat was extra large, the size of a dog, and was constantly changing the colour of its fur. Not your atypical garden variety rat, then, I would say. So, this would be along the lines of shapeshifting, the guides demonstrating this, as they transform at will into eagles and possibly even oversized rodents, as they protect the new friends on their bumpy road to the all-is. The physical level is generally far more rigid and unmalleable, in part mainly because of the agreement that it is so. The constructed consciousnesses of all physical individuals, with their limited perspectives and lack of imagination, and are controlled and indoctrinated into being so also. Although shape-shifting is indeed possible on the physical level, and has been, and is a practice throughout the epochs of physical level existence. In the past it was easier to an extent, before the layers upon layers of programming and agreed upon indoctrinations restricted individuals more and more into smaller boxes and perceptions of what is possible. And as we have learned from New Book 7, werewolves do indeed exist. They are the minions, generally, of the dark forces, and lycanthropy is a real phenomena, and people can be infected thus, and yes, be werewolfified. On the levels beyond the physical, things move more so by thought, and so it is far easier to assume any form one desires. Many people who do pass over, if their view and agreed upon state of awareness is very lacking, they will be unaware that they can do such things, and so can be as contained and limited as they are on the physical. A little like in that movie, What Dreams May Come, when Robin Williams had to be taught how he could imagine anything into existence, houses and cups of tea, etc. But without such knowledge, he would simply have assumed he could not manipulate the environment in this manner. I found this too for myself. I can assume any form I wish to, particularly in a dream where I am very aware. On one occasion, I entered a kind of shopping mall, and all the individuals there were shuffling around and drone-like in the midst of their tedious duties. So, to snap them out of their routine and zombification, I turned into a big hairy beast and rampaged about the store, wrecking the place. It certainly got their attention and gave them a moment of pause. Also, as we know, reptilians have mastered this ability, the shape-shifting, and do so on all levels of creation. They can assume human forms on the physical, and so the next time you see the Queen of England and are hoodwinked into thinking she is a sweet old delicate lady, she can at any moment turn into a 7-foot lizard. Princess Diana, who was murdered by the royals, referred to the Queen and others as the crocodile people in her diaries. So it's safe to assume she witnessed their reptilian forms first-hand. The reptilians also can shapeshift into people we know, for the purposes of diversion and misdirection, to place seeds of doubt in our minds, as they quite merrily assume the form of, say, Dwayne or a guide, and engage us in such a way in our dreams that we might turn from the presentation. I've had experiences too of this type, as have many, a few rather disturbing ones, as the reptilians stop at nothing to put us off. Not a shameful race, they. And it's very easy to determine the deception. Generally, the real awareness will kick in and sound alarm bells. So, on the subject of shapeshifting, how does it actually work on the physical level when it does? How does a physical body change its form to something completely different? And therein lies the answer. Bodies, and indeed the physical level of creation and all the life levels, are not physical or solid. Everything is a simulation for the purposes of comparison, experience, and to become more aware and recognize the is. It is, in effect, a holographic computer game, if you will. The physical body is an electromagnetic energy field, as everything else is in creation. It is a frequency, and each frequency is unique. And so, unlimited holographic projections from that which is decoded from the base frequency is possible. And scientists will tell you that everything in the physical world is made up of atoms, and atoms are just packets of energy. They are empty space. And if the building blocks of life are empty space, electromagnetic energy packets, then everything that is made from them is empty space too. So, when you regard an individual, your decoding apparatus, your vehicle senses, are taking in the information from the electromagnetic field you are observing and decoding it into a form in your mind, the individual standing before you. And so, everything you see is in fact in a tiny part of your brain, like a little monitor in your head, like watching a computer game on a monitor. An entire world displayed on the monitor screen, all that apparent space and time contained on the screen at the same time. And it's just our limited vehicle decoding mechanisms that can only process so much at a time. Were it more advanced, it could decode more at any given moment, but as humans, we can only perceive it in bite-sized chunks, so we have the illusion of space and time, as our brains place what we see, or decode, into a linear sequence with a beginning, a middle, and an end. Our vehicles are serial processors, and if we collectively agree then to the passage of time and space, we become the effects of it, we age, etc. And we are constantly reminded of time, and have the contention of time reinforced. Always reminders of the time, from clocks to calendars, etc. And birthdays, as I have one coming up. Experiments have shown that if you place individuals somewhere where they have no access to the time, they will age physically less or more according to how much time they have assumed has passed, and then they will age according to that. So anyway, If an individual stands before me, they have a unique electromagnetic energy field. I then decode it, and they appear in my brain as a human, or, say, a reptilian, depending on the frequency. Any change to the frequency, and we decode the individual now differently. Distorted frequencies will alter an individual's frequency field. Now, when I decode the person before me, the person with a distorted electromagnetic frequency field, they may appear to look very sickly or deformed, as an example. So what are the reptilians doing when they shapeshift? They have the ability to alter the electromagnetic energy signature of their field, and so making changes to it will have it decoded differently by the observer, and thus they will be in a different form. Evidently, the reptilians have mastered how to do this, and are experts in knowing exactly what to change about their waveform energy field frequency to bring about the desired change in their decoded form. We are shapeshifting all the time throughout our lives, from small people to bigger people to older people. What is that, if not an alteration in our base energetic state, to have us decoded in these changing states of appearance? The only reason most can't do this at will is because we are programmed to be limited, and what we believe or agree to is the world that we create for ourselves, and then the experiences we have. The indoctrination and programming of today is of such a literal-based, imagination-constricting variety, it's little wonder this ability isn't more common, and indeed it is scoffed at and ridiculed as impossible.